Very good morning to everyone. I'd like to introduce our Director General Payal Kanwar. She will share with us the introduction and the welcome remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So just before I begin, if I could just request everyone to keep themselves on mute, just so there's no background disturbance. I hope you're all doing well, and thank you so much for joining us this morning for today's session on returning to work during COVID-19. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the HR committee. Sapna, the team, and also our new leadership, because this committee is the most active and the largest committee that we have at IFFCI. I think we have more than about 80 HR heads of our member companies, so it's fantastic to see the level of engagement and also the number of discussions that have been going on these past few months. I think HR has really been at the center of it all because there have been so many questions around protecting our employees and managing the workplace better. I'd like to officially introduce the new leadership for the year. I'd like to start by welcoming Shrikant Donikar, who is the CHRO of Pernod Ricard India. He is going to be chairing this committee, joined by the vice chairpersons. We have Ms. Pallavi Tyagi, who is EVP and CHRO India for Capgemini, and Niruban Rupetavan, who is head of HR at BNP Paribas GSO. So welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for chairing this committee, and I'm sure it's going to be a fabulous year. So as you all can see, I'm in office today. So this session is quite timely for all of us, and I think, I think it's been different for every company. As we know, essential services have been operating right from the start. Others have partially reopened, and some are still contemplating on what what they want to do. While the situation may be different for all of your companies, I think there's one aspect that remains constant, and that is that the manner in which we work from now on is perhaps going to change forever and for the long term, which is both a great thing, but there are also negative aspects to that. And I think today's discussion is going to be very interesting. For us at IFFCI, for example, we had never tried out work from home. We never even had a policy. And I think the past 4 months have been a great learning, because it just goes to show that it is possible. And luckily, it has been quite smooth, as has been the case for a number of your companies. On the flip side, I've also been hearing that many employees of different organizations also really want to come back because they are missing office. So how do we find the balance between the two? And I think that's where this is really going to be an interesting session. I'd just like to thank Kocher & Co for partnering with us today for today's session. We have a great handbook that's going to be launched today, and I hope it's going to be useful for all of you and your companies. So thank you very much for joining us, and back to you, Sapna.
Thank you, Payal. I'll now hand over to Vijay Ravi from Kocher & Co.
Thanks, Sapna, and thanks, Payal, for that introduction. For the benefit of everyone who's participating in this webinar, my name is Vijay B. Ravi. I am a senior partner with the law firm Kocher & Company. Thank you very much for taking out time on a Monday morning to attend this webinar. We hope you find this webinar interesting. We have a fantastic panel of speakers in Shrikant, Pallavi, Niruban, and Gagan, and we hope to touch upon some interesting topics. And at the end, if time permits, we would also have a Q&A session. So during the course of the webinar, you can send your questions using the chat facility, and we will try and take up as many questions as possible. In case we are not able to take any questions, we will definitely endeavor to get back to you post the webinar. So now we'll, without much ado, we'll straight away get on to the topic that we intend to discuss. And as Payal briefly mentioned, I'll use the words that she sort of uh, spoke about. So clearly, change is the only constant when it comes to these times. We've Nobody imagined a situation where practically the entire world would be working from home, and we've managed, fortunately, to ensure that work continues. And now we're looking at a situation where each organization is planning a return to work, and we felt that this is the opportune time to take up some of the issues that are being faced by organizations, some of the changes that the organizations have brought about in their working environment, and some of the challenges that they feel would be there in the future. So I guess, Shrikant, I'll maybe start with you. So, in your view, is a work from home going to be a permanent feature in your organization?
Thank you, Vijay, and thanks, Sapna, for introducing us. Very happy to be part of this committee, actively working with Pallavi and Niru, and thanks everyone for joining us. At Pernod Ricard, my company, Vijay, our way of living is conviviality. Conviviality is a French word now; it is acceptable in English also, which fundamentally means being together and having a smile or joy together. So going by that, we have made a fundamental decision that nobody will work from home or remotely permanently. So as of now, we are working remotely. I'm at home for last 4.5 months. We intend to be working from remote till end of December, at least in India, going by the current situation. But we have identified a bunch of people who will be eligible by virtue of the nature of their work, that they can work from remote for longer periods of time. So we have taken a cutoff of, say, 3 days per week or more. That means 3 days or 4 days. If you are able to work from remote or home, you will be treated as a person covered under the work from home policy. The rest of the people who work from workplace could also work from home or remote for a day or two in a week. That is how we have divided. But my learning from this whole experience is that, and we as Pernod Ricard India have never worked from home anytime. We didn't have a policy, to be honest. So but we, being an agile organization, we quickly learned and got into a policy, and we started working. So the learning is that it's possible to work remotely and maintain the same levels of efficiencies and productivity in most of the roles. So that with that learning, I think there will be a trend. I'm looking more like working from home rather as a geography agnostic way of working, that you can be anywhere and you can deliver to the work anywhere happening on any part of the country. You could be outside India also if the time zone is not a sensitivity for delivering the work. That's my view.
Thank you very much, Shrikant, and it's very good to know that at least in your organization, uh, efficiencies and productivity has not been affected. So that's really good to know. I think, Pallavi, we would also want to understand from you what your views are in a work from home situation, whether it's going to be a permanent feature.
So thanks for the opportunity. So hi everyone, good morning. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. And thank you for this opportunity once again, to be co-chairing with Shrikant and Niru. At many, we've always had flexi work option available, and it's been a part of our policy for many years. So those employees who have required flexibility at work arrangements can and have opted for workplace or part-time option, where they can choose between identified hours per day or even days in a week to work from. So these flexi work options had been very strongly welcomed by all our employees and have seen it as a great enabler in furthering one's self-development, professional as well as both personal. Of course, going into the situation of work from home in the current few months, we have almost all our employees working from home with 95% enablement of work from home. Will we see it as a permanent feature? We already had this as part of our offerings for our employees, and we will see it even increased going forward. What percentage of employees will be working from home on a long-term basis? It's too early to say for us right now, but definitely it will be a much higher percentage than what we've seen in the past. So what we've done right now is we've created a task force within the organization that is internally evaluating different work from home models, and we will refine that over a period of going forward. Back to you.
Thank you, Pallavi, for that. Niruban, we are aware that when it comes to BNP Paribas, you've taken a conscious decision of allowing people to work from home for, I believe, till October, if I'm not mistaken. And post October, do you think a work from home situation will be a permanent feature in your working style?
Thank you, Vijay, for the question, and thank you to IFKI for organizing this panel. Really excited to be co-chairing with Pallavi and Shrikant on the HR committee. So to come back to your question, at this stage, even October is not something that we have stabilized. So at BNP Paribas in India, we have around 10,000 employees, and at this stage, we do not intend to bring the vast majority of the staff back to the office. We are waiting for the situation to improve across the country in terms of number of cases. As safety, as for many of the organizations around, is our utmost priority. So what we are doing, similar to what Pallavi has described for the organization, we continue to calibrate our approach through a project team on the unlock and return to the office. So we continue having these kind of meetings on a weekly basis. And we are involving different streams. So of course, we have HR, we have our admin, operations, IT. So this is where we are in terms of approach. Yes, working from home, once we all return to work, I think will be a permanent feature. Working from home has now become a new norm, and it has been proved that we have already 98% of our workforce working from home, and it has been very smooth so far. In the longer run, we are still defining the modalities, and we are reviewing internally, the number of days. So it could range from 1 to 2 days. And in terms of the percentage of the people who will be working, we are thinking, on what should be the maximum size. Should it be 20%, 30%? So these are things that we are currently reviewing internally and see what makes sense. Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you, Niruban, for that. Again, so what I understand is while you may be working from home, there are already plans to return to a workplace situation, the unlock, as the government puts it. So, Shrikant, in a situation where you're returning to work, do you foresee any changes that are likely to be introduced in your workplace?
So we have partially resumed the work. For example, in the factories, we are in the wines and spirits business. So we have factories all around the country, close to about 30 manufacturing units. These were the first to get operationalized. So we started some units, 2 or 3 units in the month of April with limited manpower, and May onwards, when the first lockdown started happening from 4th of May, unlockdown. That is the time we started opening other factories. So that was a good experience with limited number of people to go to the workplace. One of the challenging things was the market working by the salespeople, particularly the field salespeople. So factory, to that extent, can arrange transport. People go to the same place and they remain in a limited geography, and interactions are limited. So it's quite a controlled environment comparatively, versus somebody going to the market, and visiting the retail shops and distributors and customers and government officers. There is no limit to the exposure that we have. So we have been very, very cautious and careful about selectively choosing people to go. and they go at a frequency. They don't go every day to the market like they used to do pre-COVID, you know. But now the situation has come that everybody and his brother is working from market and workplaces, and our people are also getting restless. We all understand the salespeople; they have a different blood than people like us working in the office. They want to be on the ground. They want to be with customers, handle the products, and they don't like doing these webinars and sitting in front of computers all day. So they're raring to go, and they've been asking us, no, everything is working well. Why are you not allowing us to go, kind of thing. So we now started putting some process together. So one of the things we did was, we created a health bot on the same lines as Arogya Setu that government has, and we take declarations from people. And we have put some stringent conditions for some time, at least, like the people with 55 and above, ideally they should not step out and they should stay at home. Government says 65. We lowered that bar for some time. Then the people with comorbidities. But apart from that, those who go to the workplaces, in the office, of course, we will have a reduced number of people whenever we open, maybe 20-30% of people, they will come by rotation. So social distance is maintained, and there is not too much of congestion or interaction in the office. That is going to be a challenging thing, Vijay, in my view, because people have so much of excitement to going back to the office, large number of people, I would say. But when they go, they are not going to go back to the same office. They will not be, doing social casual talks, coffee sessions, or having lunch together for an hour or so, or traveling together. Those kind of things are not going to be there. It's going to be a very different life. So my sense is it will be a sort of little bit of point of frustration for people. Did I really want to come back here? And that is where we'll need little focus on engagement and motivation of the workforce with these challenges that we have. And of course, health concerns are going to be on the top of the mind all the time, that how do we make sure that nobody is impacted because of the contact they have with other people. Otherwise, it scares out people. That is going to be a different factor that comes to my mind. Thank you. You're on mute, Vijay.
Shrikant, you mentioned that. No, I have my mic open.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So Shrikant, you mentioned that you've got your factories which started operations. I was interacting with a client of mine which has a 24/7 operation, a 3-shift operation. And during the course of my interaction, the CEO mentioned that because of curfew timings, they are not able to operate during the night shift. So in your case, do you have any such issues or challenges?
We had, apart from the factories inspectorate and other government departments, so we have to also seek permissions of the excise department. That is very critical for our product. So we were encouraged to start the operations by the government because, as we know, alcohol is a big source of income for the government, and they wanted these plants to start early on, and supply chain should not be disrupted. So they were very cooperative when they did that. But of course, all the health safety parameters were very, very stringently implemented. When we started, not many factories were operating. So we had so many inspectors coming in our factories and checking whether we are doing right things or not, what kind of precautions we are taking and so on. But fortunately, we got visitor registers where we have, very encouraging kind of feedback coming from these people. Since it was 20, 30, 40% of operation that was allowed, we didn't have any need to operate multiple shifts at that time. Today, we are working in some places as 2 shifts as and when required with the government permission. Ordinarily, we don't work night shifts unless it is a seasonal requirement. So that's not a standard practice for us. Plus, we have a lot of female employees. As you know, there are limitations on female employees working post 7, 8 p.m. As per the Factories Act. Also, you need to take special permissions. Couple of states like Haryana have allowed now for female workers also to be in the factory, but we are not operating at night shifts.
Okay, thanks for that, Shrikant. Pallavi, now on to you. I mean, what sort of changes do you anticipate are likely to take place in your workplace? I mean, you obviously manage a very large workforce. So what changes do you anticipate are likely to happen in Capgemini?
Yeah, thanks for that. With a workforce of as large as 120,000 plus, yes, we definitely are looking at very stringent guidelines, as an organization laid down by WHO, MHA, ASHRAE, to name a few, where we are preparing our office premise for employees to start coming back, and that's happening. We are following the same as what Shrikant mentioned, ensuring social distancing in common areas like cafeteria, the company transport also, safe commute to and fro from office and home. In addition, yes, and in addition, what we did was launched a video communication. In fact, this was a month plus ago. Through an animated video, we call it Ally, which is our workplace services assistant, to showcase the measures that we've taken at Capgemini to assure our employees and also their families of the safety measures on returning to office. We also created a learning module, which is kind of mandated for an employee to take before they are returning to work back to office, which talks about how they need to look at safety practices for themselves and for others as well around them. Same to what Shrikant mentioned, we have a unique self-declaration application called Namaste Capgemini, where employees are allowed access to office premise in a phased approach and of course in line with government guidelines. So this app authorizes an employee to return to office based on different parameters like location traveled from, recent travel history, physical health, and other defined criteria. So once you enter your details, once one of our colleague enters their details in this app, it authorizes the employee to either return to office or continue to work from home. And then, of course, there is a QR code which is generated, and a mandatory digital pass is valid for a day for the colleague to enter the office. So, of course, the technology helps free and a digital control access as well. So we are making sure that all offices are sanitized. We are following all protocols laid down by WHO. Packaged food is available to the employees as per the requirement. We are ensuring best practices for our housekeeping and facilities and support staff as well. We are giving masks to all our employees who are coming to office and our support staff and all our housekeeping staff. And particularly our housekeeping staff are wearing gloves. We also have an ambulance which is on stand, which is again a regular health and safety protocol. So we are following the best safety and hygiene practices across the globe, and of course the government guidelines as well.
Clearly, the HR team has been quite busy the past few months. So, Niruban, what about BNP Paribas? What changes are likely to be introduced whenever you take a decision for returning to work?
So in our current planning, the kind of question we're asking ourselves is that, is it essential, first of all, to bring the staff back? Can the staff continue working from home? So these are the first kind of questions we're asking ourselves. The second one is that, is it sufficiently safe? A little bit like how Pallavi and Shrikant have described, what are all the measures we are taking? And the third one, I think, is a critical one, is to say, is it mutually agreed? The most important thing here is a conversation between managers and the employee, and ensuring that there is a good alignment. That's very important, and I think this is part of the way we are planning this. So we don't think there's really a full ready-made plan, but I think we are all discovering and learning as we go, and this will need to be adjusted on a regular basis, because each time there'll be a new case or new situation coming, we need to be really agile and readaptive. So the first change that we see is actually in the employee life cycle. We are reviewing, each step of the process from the time the employees step out from their home, reach the office and leave. Many of our employees are taking cabs, so even the way their transport will be arranged when they reach the office, the kind of health questionnaire similar to what Shrikant and Pallavi mentioned, we also have a health questionnaire in place. Then you have the temperature screening taking place, and then the staffing status according to the different scenarios we've done will vary according to the lockdown status of each state. So we are intending to start small at 20-30%, and social distancing will apply while traveling in the work areas, similar to what Pallavi mentioned in the cafeteria space. I think it will be really used in a limited manner. People will have packaged food or could bring food from home and eat at their desk. Elevators, for example, we have guidelines, not more than 2 people in a lift. Usage of transport will be encouraging employees basically to use their respective private vehicles, or if the state regulation permit to be using carpooling. Working hours is an area where we spend a lot of time working on staggered work hours for employees across the government. So this is something that we are reviewing. And I think to get more people coming to office, like if we want to reach 70% of people coming, I think what we are waiting is for some progress on the discovery of a new vaccine. I think that will be a key player in changing our way of approaching the number of people coming back to office. The second main change is really around regular awareness program on how to behave in the workspace. As you rightly said, Vijay, in your introduction, and as also Pallavi mentioned, we need to continue having awareness program on how employees should continue behaving, and we are thinking about different communication to our employees about how they should behave in common space, how they should work in the open space, so all that kind of things are ongoing. And the third change, which is the most critical one, I think we need to reflect and review a major change in the managerial mindset, because it's true that this is bringing a change in the workspace, a change in the way we approach our staff, but also in a way that our managers are approaching our employees. So we need to keep on supporting. One of the key elements is to keep on supporting our line managers to be more and more trustworthy, trustful with employees, define clear, approaches, guidelines, demonstrate more and more empathy, because many of the employees might have gone through some difficult situation during this time. Maybe they could have lost a beloved one. Maybe, some of the family members could have been hospitalized, So each of the cases will have to be in a way tailor-made and tailor-reviewed. And then also we need to review the way we think about work. It will not be, on the hours spent at the office, so physical presence. And we believe that charisma alone will not be effective. Managers will need to be more and more organized, provide more active listening, be available and reactive, and same applies with the support of HR. So that's a really pivotal population that we should keep on reviewing and supporting. Thank you. Thank you, Vijay.
I think you make a very good point about having to support line managers in the new way in which work is being undertaken. And personally, I manage a team within the firm, and I do realize that it's sometimes difficult when you're working remotely and your team is located at various other places to sort of coordinate. When you were in the office, you could easily go over to a colleague's desk and get your work done quickly. But now you were improvising, learning how to sort of get the work done in the new circumstances. So I do personally, I'm able to relate to what you were mentioning in terms of the support that managers require. In fact, the other aspect that we've been internally discussing in our office also, a lot of people have been reaching out to us saying, uh, it's been 4 months, we've not been to office. We really feel the need to go back to office and just get to see our colleagues. And I think one of the aspects that's gained increasing attention during these times is mental well-being. As Shrikant mentioned, in their organization, it is all about interacting with people and making sure that people are happy with that social interaction as well. And I think uh, a lot of us are missing out on that, and that probably has an impact on mental well-being. Pallavi, uh, in your organization, is there anything that you're uh, proactively or actively doing to address issues related to mental well-being?
So yes, please. I mean, as you rightly pointed out, it's an important aspect, particularly working from home and the longer periods that it has been. So mental well-being per se as a topic has been a focus for Capgemini, but there is more enhanced focus than ever during these times. So what we have done is that, of course, greater communication, just as Neeru mentioned, between managers and HR with their team has been increased tremendously. What we also did was the moment we started work from home, we started webinars on wellness and to understand what pandemic could bring about in terms of an effect on the family. If you had small children, aging parents, and we covered it for all our locations and continued that for a very long time. We also have meditation sessions every evening at 6 p.m. for half an hour, and we've had more than 27,000 employees who participated in those meditation sessions. What we then did was, and we were planning to do this in 2019, but we kind of pulled it forward was as part of our D&I effort. We built a pillar or a stream called as happiness and well-being. And as part of that happiness and well-being pillar, what we have done is that we've started talking about mental well-being more in terms of sending, almost bi-monthly notes to employees on various impacts that work from home could be having and how to take care of the same. As an example, we've also done some amount of fun activity like we are starting a laughter club. So we are calling it the LOL Club. So we had a stand-up comedian who came and did a session with our employees. We've also covered domestic violence as part of those sessions. What we've done is we've partnered with one of our NGO firms, and we have conducted training programs for our employees, and this was open for our employees to take on counseling sessions. So how to do counseling? So the idea was that if you get trained as a counselor, so when you're back at workplace with your teams, you're able to utilize those skills as well. So we've done a lot of work around mental well-being, making sure that we are well connected with our employees and colleagues. Lastly, we did a podcast series with our leaders called as Candid Connect, right? Where leaders are talking about topics like, what is their passion, what motivates them, what's been their own experience of remote working, some best practices, personal challenges, etc. So this podcast with different leaders ran for over 8 weeks. We had 15 episodes. We had more than 75,000 employees who tuned into these podcasts. So it's basically saying we are all in the same boat, right? We are all facing the same situation as we are working from home, and no one is in isolation around this. And of course, we have our partners, our employee assistant partner. We are making sure we are communicating their access numbers, employees have access to one-on-one counseling as and when required. They can reach out to the EAP partners and take those sessions as well. So a lot of focus, in fact, the maximum has been around mental wellness for the last couple of months since we've been working from home. Thank you.
Well, I noticed that one of the participants, Niaz Ahmed, has mentioned that the LOL sessions and the stand-up comedy from Capgemini is truly out of the box thinking, and I completely agree with Niaz there. I think obviously this situation has meant that everyone's started thinking differently and trying to come up with different solutions for the problems. And I completely agree with Niaz that the LOL sessions and the stand-up comedy is fully out of the box. That's fantastic. Niruban, anything interesting that you've implemented or have plans for?
Yeah.
To address
yeah.
related to mental well-being of your colleagues.
Yeah. Thank you, Vijay and Pallavi. So, as you know, the lockdown in certain cities like Mumbai and Chennai continues for the 6th month. The lockdown has completely disrupted professional norms and personal life of our employees. And also the uncertainty on the end of the lockdown, the situation of isolation, as Pallavi highlighted, the challenges also of living with COVID, like whenever you step out, you need to wear a mask, and this was not part of our culture, can potentially create stress. So we've done different things, like, for example, circulating all the HR head and HRBP's numbers to all our staff through email and directly to their mobile number also, so that in case they have any issues, they can reach out directly. Leaders have also been sharing encouragement videos. We have launched a staff survey 2 months ago, and we are going to launch another one to keep on checking the pulse. We are conducting at the moment, together with our HR business partners, a focus group with our employees. So basically gather 6-7 employees from different segments, from junior to mid-level. The objective is to really assess, what these employees are going through and try to find potential solution. We also support our employees whenever they've been through some illness condition, support them with the insurance company, help them navigate with the different government orders, regularly check when they're in the hospital. So these are the kind of things that we are doing. Similar to what Pallavi is doing for Capgemini, we have been working on an initiative to launch an employee assistance program, because we did not have that in place so far. So it will be implemented in the coming months. And we feel that the EAP is a kind of confidential psychological and counseling support, in which our employees could sometimes find some reassurance. So this is something that we would like to do in the coming weeks. And then we are planning at the end of this month something that we call the Reward and Recognition Week. Many of the employees have really gone the extra mile during the difficult times. It could be like carrying their laptops and their computers home, working, sometimes stretching, to serve some of our clients. So although they've been congratulated to so far, we'll have a specific week where all these people, will be gathered into an online platform, and where our CEOs, our senior leadership could thank them again. And we've also worked on extensive learning and development program around awareness, because I think it's very important to keep on explaining what is this disease about. Wellness program, we have had every Wednesday yoga session, fitness session, where we had a popular demand and a lot of people participating, because of course their usual fitness, yoga were not running anymore. And also for managers, about how do you keep adapting to this changing environment. And then there were also some initiatives. So these are really things that managers or HR were driving. But I think it was also overwhelming to see different employees on a regular basis sharing videos they made as a team on sharing, whether they were dancing, whether they were singing, whether they were showcasing a specific talent. And this has also attracted a lot of positive momentum. So these are in a nutshell the actions we've done.
I think creativity has been on display throughout organizations, and that's very good to see actually. Uh, Now, Srikant, do you feel a need for change in your employment contracts or HR policies or any other employment related documentation as a result of the changes that COVID-19 has brought about?
Vijay, more than need, I think there is an opportunity. The need, of course, is coming in the form of safety and health becoming a very, very important focus. Pernod Ricard globally has committed to the United Nations Global Human Rights Policy. So we follow it as an obligation. Under that policy, it's not only our employees or our third party or contract employees, but every stakeholder in our business, we take accountability for protecting their interest. And when it comes to health and safety, I think that's going to be a big, big challenge in the future. Like earlier, we spoke about, Neeru talked about employee management from remote for the managers. The challenges with respect to, situations of, say, whistleblowers or the POSH Act that we have, it is too naive to assume that when people are remote, these things will become lesser. My sense is the nature of these complaints will change, and we will have to be geared up to handle those things with little more sensitivity and a deeper understanding of human behavior. When I say opportunity, I look at it from a point that the gig worker has been around for some time. Will they grow in numbers? It's quite possible. Second is people working on a fixed term contracts. It's not a very prominent feature in Indian employment, but it's possible that the new workforce may opt for that, and many employers would like to do that. It has a huge implications on the talent management aspect of the business, employee relations, employee engagement, and the legal obligations connected to that. So today, one of the trends, when I talk to my fellow colleagues, the CHROs in the industry, most of the people are currently looking at, not only the bottom performers in the organization, but even the average performers. And companies are thinking, how do we really get rid of the average performer, replace them, maybe 3 go and 2 come kind of a thing, with higher capabilities, higher competence, and the best or the top talent of my competition or any other industry I can bring in. Now that is going to churn the whole workforce that is available in the market. I generally have an experience, and my belief is that there's nobody called as an average performer. People do that because of a variety of reasons, but they have potential, they have capabilities, and they can always upgrade. So we see that when somebody is thrown out of a company as average or below par performer, they become star performers in other companies. So to that extent, it will be good. In short term, it could be painful for the business as well as for talent, but it will be a very good thing that is going to happen. A lot of things that have got settled in the organization will find it as an unsettling moment, and I don't generally contribute to this word called normal. When we've been talking about new normal, I believe we are a dynamic industry, and business is always about turbulence, about opportunities, about unknown. So I look at it as a new adventure, not new normal. And in this new adventure, I think people will have many, many opportunities. So back to your question, my sense is that there will be many policies, and definitely the appointment letters that we have will have to be reviewed post-COVID.
Well, I think it's really interesting the way you put it. This being an opportunity, and in fact, I've been assisting some of our clients who are actively considering uh, having employees work on a part-time basis. So you mentioned fixed-term contracts and gig workers. So that's something that even I have noticed as a trend, because there are a few clients of our law firm who reached out to us and they've said that we are contemplating a situation where we can have employees work on a part-time basis. So yes, clearly there are bound to be changes in the employment relationships. So I think I'll move on to the next question, which is more in terms of the challenges. So Niru, you manage, Pallavi, you manage a really large workforce of almost 120,000 employees. So when this lockdown was announced, it would have probably disrupted your workflow, your productivity levels. Uh, how did you manage that challenge?
So we are a large organization, and so we do have early warning systems that we had enabled even before. So that helped us move really rapidly and take some proactive measures. So we had a crisis team that got formed even before the work from home scenario arrived. And this had representation from businesses and function heads with a direct oversight from the CEO, our CEO Ashwini Adi. And I'm part of that crisis team as well. We meet every morning looking at the situation and seeing what we need to do from various businesses, aspects, and functions as well. So we have a robust business continuity plan that we continue to deliver for our clients. And this is, as you can imagine for us, almost like scaling up our IT infrastructure. We looked at increasing the internet bandwidth. We strengthened our connectivity. So what we did was we created a city-wide task force, and one of the things that we ensured was that we delivered laptops and desktops to a significant number of employees at their home, including UPS and data cards as well. So the work from home preparation and deployment was done in consultation with clients, and we made sure that we took appropriate cybersecurity and data privacy guidelines as well. So the work that we did, and we moved so fast that we moved to a 95% enablement of work from home, and we have not seen a dip in our productivity. So we received, in fact, and the proof of the pudding always, what do the clients say about you? So we received tremendous appreciation from clients even during these times. And to the extent that there are, a few security sensitive customers, especially in the areas of banking, healthcare, manufacturing center, but they were convinced about a security model and consented from work from home for our teams on their projects. So there's been seamless service delivery, and as I said, we have 95% enablement of work from home. So the shift to a complete work from home model raises, as you can imagine, significant implications for the IT and cybersecurity. And at Capgemini, our most important area is ensuring, client data security. That's our first and foremost priority. So we installed Capgemini custom cybersecurity tools and software in order to improve our remote surveillance capabilities to proactively detect cyber threats. For desktops, particularly, an additional process of hardening, which included encryption and installation of monitoring software, was added before issuing the desktops. And the security mechanism of a remote connectivity solution ensures that no data gets transferred from client network to Capgemini network. So at the same time, we've done multi-channel communication to our employees, refreshed, re-educated on cybersecurity to ensure safety of data while working from home. So while maintaining business continuity was important, taking care of the employees' well-being has also been important. So we continue the engagement, as I spoke about, to make sure that we are boosting the morale of our employees. And we are also paying close attention to emotional well-being. So what we have also done is we've set up a benevolent, for example, for our Capgemini India employees and the families. So this initiative basically is over and above our group medical insurance for our employees and their immediate families, and the voluntary parental insurance benefit also. And it's largely to take care of medical needs. So we very quickly worked around ensuring that work and productivity was enabled. Thank you for asking the question.
I think that benevolent fund, I think it is a wonderful gesture. That's well done. Also, you mentioned the aspect of data security, and we've actually had some instances where clients actually faced situations of data breaches, and we had to rush to court to get injunctive relief for those clients to ensure that their interests are sufficiently protected. And fortunately, even in a situation where courts are functioning virtually, we were able to get those relief for our clients, and we were able to manage security for our clients. So I do understand the challenges of ensuring that when you have almost 95% of your staff working from home, data security can be a really challenging task. Nirupan, I think I'll now come to you. Though you've mentioned that you would probably still analyze whether a return to work is possible or not, but during the course of these discussions and plannings, what sort of challenges do you anticipate in case you decide on having employees return to work?
Yeah. It's a good question. Thank you, Vijay. So I think it is still unknown. It is still an unknown scenario. As we've seen in other countries, in APAC or even in Europe, a second wave and sometimes even a third wave. So methods which have worked on other countries on the return to work might not necessarily work for us, given cultural differences, commuting method, adjustment of workspaces. And more importantly, sometimes the top management could make decisions, on return to work. But again, I'm coming back to my initial point around the buy-in also from line managers who should believe and adhere to this return to work approach. Also, in terms of the challenges and the hurdles that we might face as organizations, is that few of the employees might have lost a beloved one. So the experience on coming back would definitely be impacted. Some of them might not have even stepped out from home in the last couple of months, in the last 4 months, like through the different online services that exist, they might have been working through that. So stepping out from home becomes a real challenge. And then another point that I don't think we should misunderstand or not analyze is that there could also be family pressure. People who are taking care of elders or taking care of young children might also be reluctant. So how to overcome these challenges are topics that we regularly review. And I really like some of the advice that we found also on McKinsey research paper. And I really advise all of you to go through some of them because that gives a really good food for thought. And I think what we are trying to do is to understand what are the employee needs. So it's difficult when we have large population, but still I think we can gather that through a different employee pulse or survey or focus group, is to understand where are our people? Are they mentally ready to come back? We are also thinking in terms of our communication plan about the return planning process. It needs to be as transparent as possible, and there should be real concrete information on the practicalities. Even making a video about how the new office will look like, like different areas are banned, different journey that the employee could take through, to reach the office. How will be, maybe some videos around, the temperature screening, the entire life cycle about when you badge, when you access the office, how will the lifts look like to give a feel for the employee. Clarify also, what we are looking at is to clarify how people can get their questions addressed. Having a specific hotline through HR business partners, line managers, ensuring that this is floating in the right direction and people are getting the answers. And then also CEOs and senior leaders to be involved and lead direct conversation with small group of employees are things that we are looking forward, and that continues even in the current time. And I think a good practice that we've seen across is to mark the transition through a kind of ritual, is that to have a specific date in which, you know, we all collectively start on the new normal. So these are the kind of things that we are looking for. And also, I think the whole communication should be about the well-being of employees, not just the work. And I think the kind of toolkit that you are talking about the welcome back kit, are things in which we're also working on, so that it explains employee how they will navigate in the new normal. And also at the end, I think it's very important to have leaders to be physically there on the day. This is what we were discussing with our MD actually. Leaders to be physically present, HR to be around, to do some walk around, even if we have tiny proportion of people coming, in order to reassure people. I think the whole thing, if I have to summarize, should be about the reassurance we can give them.
Thank you very much for that, Niruval. I think, Gagan, now I would want to come to you and address an issue purely from a legal perspective. Niruval mentioned that there may be situations where you know, you may have to give consideration for employees who may have been asked to return to work, but for various reasons are either not in a position to return, either attend office or have apprehensions in coming back to the workplace. From a legal standpoint, uh, how should an organization deal with a situation where an employee who's been asked to return to work is not able to do so? Now, again, Srikanth, if I can ask you a question. When you're deciding on a return to work, is there any particular objective selection criteria that you have in terms of deciding which of the employees you know, you would want to have work from home, and which employees are required to work from the office? Is there any sort of selection criteria that you follow?
This is happening very selectively, Vijay. You know, meaning, as I said earlier, we are not going to say that let's get back everybody. Today, if I have to open all my offices around India, we are allowed to do that, and large number of office-based employees can go to work and start working from there. But we have made a management decision that office-based employees will continue to work from home until December. So that was one category that we did. Second category is the people who are working in the factories. And that is where we said that these people with comorbidities and any the age issues, they should stay away as much as possible. If not, then they have to go through a medical examination, and then only they will be allowed to go there. And then the third is the sales people who are in the field. That is where, you know, we have designed a very, very articulate kind of a policy in which we are saying that only the people will go to market in these hours to these particular beats. They will do so much of work at particular time. They will come back. No reviews, no meetings face to face by sales teams themselves. And the contact point with the customers or anybody in the market will be very, very limited. So 15 to 20 minutes is max you can stay with one person or something like that. And then within that, those people have been selected who will go. So it's more like a rotation that they will do. Everybody will not go every day out type of thing. But the challenges that we are seeing here are of 2-3 kinds, Vijay. And I'm sure Pallavi and Niru and everybody else, the HR fraternity will be going through. One of the challenges is the leaves of the people. Okay, so whatever is your leave year that you follow, end of the year, certain leaves will lapse, certain will get carried forward, and certain can be encashed. So depending on the company's policy. Now, encashment, everybody knows, is not beneficial by any standards. You know, you get it at a lower rate of salary, plus there is the income tax impact on that. So you actually don't get much out of that. So people are not encouraged to do that. In terms of accumulation and carrying forward, most companies have now capped it. So you can maximum take 5 days, 10 days in the next year, and balance will lapse here. Now, lapsing of the leave when people are sitting at home, when they are not taking the leaves, and they claim that I'm working from home, you know, it's a very, very tricky situation. And if I tell somebody that no, you next 15 days you enjoy your leaves, you know, they cannot go anywhere. as an employer, I cannot force them, say that go and enjoy yourself in some Dehradun or a Kurg kind of a place. That's not a healthy advice for me to do that. Yeah, and then again they'll have to be quarantined. And the most important thing is, everybody is so much excited to work from home. The managers and employees, for no reason, you see people on this kind of meetings and webinars, and they're writing all sorts of mails and messages, and they want to be busy. So even if I'm on leave, it's not a guarantee that my boss will leave me alone. So I'll have to be still get into some kind of call. So I'm not going to enjoy my leave. So that's a big challenge. Second is the question that you were asking to Gagan, that if I'm told to go to the workplace, I'm physically fit, but I don't want to take the risk. How would I be treated at workplace? So I did one, communication meeting with the families of all employees, because now they are sitting at home, so I have access to everybody's family. And I told them when we started opening the factories, and that if you have a concern that our employee who is your family member is stepping out and he will bring some contamination back at home and somebody is worried, please let us know. We will not force them to do that. But this is in the short term. Now in couple of months time, supposing everybody is opening up, all workplaces are back into action. In that case, somebody says, I'm still worried about stepping out of my house. Should the company be empathetic, sympathetic, or legally we should say that we invited you, you didn't come, you apply for leave? These are going to be very, very big management decisions, also having a legal connotation to that. That's what my sense. So I'm also quite keen to get that answer from Gagan, which you asked.
Absolutely. I'll just check. I'll just check if Gagan's audio is functioning or not. Gagan, if we can get back to you with the same question. You're still on mute, I guess. Try.
I think now it should work.
Well, clearly this is another challenge that we face. So technology can be a challenge. Maybe we'll have another occasion to address this question, or if possible, if somebody has any further questions from a legal perspective, maybe they can reach out to us separately, and we'll be more than happy to address those questions. I note that we are just about, we are 5 minutes past the original schedule, though I believe we do have some more time on our hands, but we would definitely want to take some questions. So I guess in terms of our webinar, our panel discussion, I think we should conclude it right now. Thank you very much, Shrikant, Pallavi, and Niruban, for the wonderful insights on the changes and challenges that COVID-19 presents. And so we'll try and take up some of the questions that Sapna and others from the IFCCI team would have received, and we'll try and respond to those questions.
Thank you, Vijay. So I think many of the questions that have been asked have already been addressed. So I'm just going to maybe select one or two of them which can be covered in the Q&A. So there is a question from Reena Ahuja, and she asks that now that everybody is working from home, are there any inputs on how to monitor performance of employees working from home? So I'd address this to the panelists, and whoever would like to take it can respond, or we could have a feedback from even all of them.
I think on our side, if I may start, yeah, please go ahead, Shrikant.
No, Niru, you go ahead. I'll follow you.
Yeah, so basically, I think this is a question that has been asked to us at many occasions, where managers were like, we are not very comfortable, maybe, to conduct a performance discussion because we are all sitting at home. There's necessarily not face-to-face through the challenges we go through the systems. So what we've done is that we have designed a specific training that has been conducted in the last week or two with our managers, that was facilitated by our L&D and HR business partners, around, how you conduct meetings in a virtual environment. How do you continuously give feedback to your teams? And we've been giving them specific toolkits around insisting mostly on the strengths, areas for improvement. Regarding the rating, I think this is something in which not all managers would be comfortable, to give a rating at the end. So we told them either you give them a rating, either you do not give them a rating, but you can have it in an optional manner. You can give a wording that is similar to one of the ratings. For example, if it's a 4 rating, which is usually an average performance. So what we will tell them is that you can tell them this employee meets expectation. So this is this kind of advice we've been giving. And what we told them is that rather than doing it just in the mid-year, do that on a monthly basis as part of your discussion. Make it a practice. So maybe these kind of things could support.
Thanks, Niruban. Shrikant, would you like to add?
Yes, I think this is a very important question, and thank Reena for asking, because this was one of the very first questions our CEO also asked us when we talked about working from home, and everybody is talking about it. So two things I want to talk about this. One and most important thing is this concept of monitoring performance. I think this will fade away over a period of time, meaning supervisor, manager, or leader's job is to get work done from people. I think that's going through a huge transformation. It is people who will contribute value, deliver their performance at will, and they will make that commitment, and philosophically, if we look at that, then we have to hold the employee accountable for their own performance and not anybody else for extracting performance out of them. When the fundamental shift must happen, that how do we measure the performance? It should not be in terms of a unit of time, that I want you to log in at 9 o'clock in the morning and I should see you logged in from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock or something like that. I think that is not going to give any value to the business, because we know most of these people who are working from home or remote, they are intellectual workers. Their mind works for the business, not hands and legs. So it's not good for us to use that measure that has been primitively used in the industry. The second is in terms of tools and processes. When we announced our work from home just a week before the government announced lockdown. And that is the time we evaluated multiple tools available for doing such kind of monitoring. And there are a bunch of these good companies globally. They have a customization opportunity as well as the compatible to your original platforms of technology. But this is what happens often to us. We didn't realize we use Office 365 suite of Microsoft. We didn't realize there is also a platform available in that called Microsoft Planner. And this is a beautiful tool, so if anyone is using MS, please consider that it is a task management, project management based kind of thing. Anything and everything related to a particular task or work item can be monitored, shared, reviewed, and passed on to many people. And you can assign that this has been given to these people, this activity, and at this time frame it should be completed. It's very easy to do that. But again, I would harp on this point that monitoring work of people in the remote should not be a target. Rather, having right people who are motivated to work from remote and delivering on their commitment, that should be a measure of performance as well as behavior of people.
Thank you, Shrikant. Do we have Gagan available now? I can see the mic is on. Gagan, are you able to connect with the audio?
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes. Yes, because we have a few questions which I think you could take because they involve some advice from a legal expert. So I'm just going to read them out. Yes.
This is the first time the lawyer has been put on, mute without his will and wish. So if I have any specific question, I would be happy to address that.
Sure. There is a question from a participant. So it's Priyank, and he asks, to what extent are employers liable beyond the health insurance if an employee contracts COVID and the treatment expenses exceed the health insurance? That is what the companies have provided. So he also says, considering the healthcare services are expensive and news of hospital beds being given to the highest bidder, etc., etc. So how would the company kind of play a role in this situation, and what would be the obligations? Over to you.
I think, yes, am I audible? So I think, I've heard all the panelists, and it is wonderful to learn that, they are fulfilling their obligation of duty to take care. In the absence of any specific legislations in this exceptional circumstances, much corporates are fulfilling their corporate social responsibility vis-a-vis their employees as well. Now, as regards their insurance is concerned, this is purely governed by the contract. Am I audible? Yeah. So it will be purely governed by the contract, and the insurance policies already in place. Taken by the company for the employees. Now, as part of duty to take care, in case the employer is willing to talk to their global insurer to cover this aspect as well, then employer would have an option, not as an obligation, but an option to amend their insurance policies to cover the risks of pandemic for their employees, but no absolute responsibility or obligation on the employer.
Okay, thank you. And I think many of the other questions which were there have already been covered. So there is one question over here again which says, will there be benefits for employees change considering health issues like increase in insurance? I think that you've already taken. And there was another question which was, I think we can address this maybe to Niruban, if you'd like to answer this question. And it was, how do you plan to take talent acquisition forward? In the sense that, I mean, is the process on virtually? Are there any inputs on this?
So far, I think the way we've been doing is that, Sapna, we've been working all online, right? All the interviews so far were taking place, through either Skype or we have an internal other tool that's called Meet Me, or as Srikanth mentioned, there's another one that we are launching, which is called Microsoft Teams. And I think we have not finalized the plan yet, but we intend to continue like that. Because, when you have external candidates coming also, traveling from different states, I don't think you want to keep on having, any impact on your internal employees already. And already bringing employees back to office is already a big challenge. So in my view, we'll continue with this online approach until things will really settle down in a better manner. And I'm not sure even whether candidates will be comfortable, because as you can see, all the panelists are organizing specific cabs, will do thermal screening. So I think that will be an additional burden if we have to do that also for external candidates. So the advice is to continue to do it online, at least for the next few months. And then we'll see how things will progress. And there are different online assessment tools also that we have set up, and I'm sure many of the organizations are also doing. But I think it will be now to also advise our managers to have that in mind also, because I think for them also it was difficult to keep on doing it online, and you lose a little bit the direct people connect. But it'll be part of our new practices going forward.
Thank you, Niruban. I think we're already running out of time, so we will not take any more questions. And if any member, a participant has questions, do send them to us and we'll try our best to address them. So now I'd like to ask Vijay Ravi to introduce the handbook, which has the guidelines on return to work for, during COVID. And this is a handbook that we have worked on in partnership with Kocher & Co. And I'd like Vijay to introduce it and launch it, and maybe just share a few words before we close. Over to you, Vijay.
Thank you very much, Sapna. So, as Sapna mentioned, our law firm, Kocher & Company, we've partnered together with the Indo-French Chamber to try and come out with a handbook which has the do's and don'ts when it comes to a return to work scenario. We've tried to keep the handbook very reader friendly. We've not we've not included too much of legalese in the document, and it's very there's a lot of pictures that we've intentionally included there may be situations where companies may want to use posters in order to communicate to the employees, and we thought that having these pictures as part of the handbook may be useful, and companies can use some of these pictures for the. We hope that you would find this handbook a useful tool. And as Sapna mentioned, if at any point in time there are any questions or issues that you need addressed, please feel free to reach out to any of us.
So thank you, Ravi.
I think the handbook would be shared with the members, Sapna.
Sorry, Vijay, I did not hear you. Could you just repeat?
I assume that the handbook will be shared with the members.
Yes, absolutely. So we will make this available to our members. We'll also have it up on our website, and we'll also mail the handbook to them so that everybody can go through it. And we hope that it will add value and make this entire transitioning back to work a smooth process for everybody. So I think in closing, I'd like to say that IFFCI would like to thank Poacher & Co. for partnering with IFFCI for this handbook and also participating in this webinar. And we'd of course like to thank our panelists. We are delighted that we could have our HR committee chairpersons to join us today. And it was really nice to hear their valuable insights on changes, challenges, and initiatives that they have introduced, relating to workforce, work from home, productivity, employee engagement, and I think most importantly, returning to work. So thank you, everybody, and also to the participants for organizing, for attending the session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sapna. Thank you, Vijay.
Very much.
Thank you.
Niru. Thanks, Pallavi.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Pallavi.
Bye.